Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this HHS Office of Research Integrity Technical Assistance webinar for Funding Opportunity IR ORI 23-001, Ensuring Research Integrity, Research Development and Demonstration. My name is Karen Wayner, and I'm with the Office of Research Integrity at the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Today, I'm joined by Mr. Dwayne Barlow, Grants Management Officer in the Office of the Assistant Secretary for Health. I'm also joined by Dr. Wanda Jones, Acting Director of the Division of the Office of Research Integrity, and I'll turn it over to you, Wanda, briefly.
Thanks, Karen, and welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're excited to have the opportunity to offer this grant funding announcement. You'll hear more about it here just as soon as I sign off and Karen and Dwayne resume. Thank you so much for joining us.
All right, thank you, Wanda. All right, may I have the next slide, please? All right, I'm going to go over a few housekeeping items before we begin. All participants have been muted. We invite you to submit questions throughout the webinar using the chat function. Please ensure that you select the option to send your questions to all host and panelists. We'll respond to the questions during the Q&A session at the end and in an FAQ document that will be posted to grants.gov. This webinar is being recorded, and information on how to access the recording will be available on grants.gov under the grant opportunity. Today, we'll provide an overview of the funding opportunity announcement and competitive application requirements. Please note that the information provided in this webinar does not supersede any of the content of the NOFO. The NOFO is the written document that will govern the competition. We strongly encourage you to subscribe to the NOFO on grants.gov to ensure that if there are any revisions made to the NOFO, you will receive notice. Next slide, please. ORI's mission is to promote research integrity, prevent research misconduct, and to protect science, public health, and conserve public health service funds. Next slide, please. Core to ORI's mission is the development and implementation of educational and outreach activities that aid PHS-funded research institutions in their efforts to teach the responsible conduct of research, promote research integrity, prevent research misconduct, and to respond effectively to allegations of research misconduct. ORI's Ensuring Research Integrity, Research Development and Demonstration Grant Program contributes to this mission by supporting projects that undertake research, development, and demonstration activities to advance the evolving field of research integrity, develop innovative practical approaches, tools, and resources, and produce tangible outcomes related to ensuring research integrity and the compliance with 42 CFR Part 93. Next slide, please. This notice solicits applications for projects that will conduct research on one of the 4 focus areas related to ensuring research integrity and compliance with 42 CFR Part 93, and I'll go over those focus areas in an upcoming slide. Also, to develop innovative approaches, tools, and resources based on the results of this research, and to demonstrate impact or effectiveness of these approaches, tools, or resources. Next slide, please. The 4 2023 focus areas are transparency in the reporting of research, effective communication between researchers for the purpose of avoiding, mitigating, and resolving issues related to authorship and/or collaboration, handling allegations of research misconduct under 42 CFR Part 93, or interventions to address issues related to research culture and climate that can negatively impact the integrity, conduct, quality, and reliability of research. Next slide, please. A total of up to $450,000 is available for 3 or more grant awards, each with a period of performance of up to 2 years. Next slide, please. During the period of performance, ORI expects the awardee to conduct research related to ensuring research integrity, develop innovative and practical approaches, tools, and/or resources, demonstrate the impact and/or effectiveness of the materials developed, and disseminate the materials developed under the auspices of this grant. It's important to note that projects will have to have all 4 of these expectations met. I'll talk a little bit more about each of the expectations on upcoming slides. Next slide, please. ORI expects that you will conduct research for the purpose of informing the development and implementation of innovative practical approaches, tools, and/or resources that improve practices in one or more of the 4 FY 2023 focus areas. Next slide, please. ORI expects that the research activities and all other activities of the proposed project will concentrate on one or more of the 4 focus areas, which I have just gone over. Next slide, please. ORI also expects that you will develop innovative and practical approaches, tools, and/or resources that will contribute to a researcher's and institutions' efforts to ensure the integrity and reliability of PHS-funded research and/or compliance with 42 CFR Part 93. That they can also be directly used or implemented to facilitate improved practices at the level of the relevant stakeholder. And you are expected to design all materials with ease of use and implementation for the end user in mind. Next slide, please. For the expectation to demonstrate the impact and/or effectiveness of the materials developed, ORI expects you to implement and evaluate developed materials to determine the ease with which they can be directly used by the stakeholders, their effectiveness in facilitating improved practices, and their impact on research integrity and/or compliance with 42 CFR Part 93. And we expect that you will revise the materials as necessary to address issues identified during the evaluation process that may prevent effective implementation by the relevant stakeholders. Next slide, please. ORI's expectations related to the dissemination of the materials developed under this grant include making relevant stakeholders aware of the availability of and providing free access to the materials, developing and implementing a comprehensive time-frame dissemination plan to communicate key findings to stakeholders, the public, and other parties who might be interested in the results of the proposed project, and including a description of the method that will be used to disseminate the project's results and findings in a timely manner and in easily understandable formats. Next slide, please. The project narrative is the most important part of the application because it will be used as the primary basis to determine whether your project meets the minimum requirements for an award under this announcement. The project narrative should provide a clear and concise description of your project. HHS recommends that your project narrative include the following components: project description, outcomes, evaluation, dissemination, project management, and environment and organizational capability. I'll briefly discuss each of the components on the upcoming slides, but please refer to the NOFO for the full details about these components. Next slide, please. For the project description component, you should identify the focus areas being addressed by the proposed project, explain the rationale for the proposed project, describe the scope and breadth of the issue and critical barriers to progress on the selected research integrity topic or focus area, describe potential impacts on affected groups or populations. Next slide, please. Describe in detail how the project will potentially affect the populations served, specific subgroups within those populations, and other interested stakeholders. You should also state concisely the goals of the proposed project and summarize the expected outcomes, being sure to include the impact that the results of the proposed project will exert on the selected topic or focus area. And you should describe the overall strategy, activities, and methods that you will use to accomplish the goals of the project, being sure to include how the data that will be collected, analyzed, and interpreted. Next slide, please. You should describe why the specific activities were were selected, explaining how the proposed activities will help to achieve the overall project goals and outcomes, indicating why the overall approach as described is appropriate, and presenting a clear connection between selected research integrity topic or focus areas and the proposed activities. And you should describe any novel approaches or methods you intend to employ to achieve the project goals. Next slide, please. You should list succinctly the specific and time-framed objectives of the proposed project as they relate to the project goals, providing detailed descriptions of specific materials proposed for development or modification, and listing succinctly the anticipated, specific, and measurable outcomes of the proposed project as they relate to the goals. You should discuss potential problems, alternative strategies, and benchmarks for success with respect to the project goals, noting any major barriers you expect to encounter, as well as how your project will be able to overcome those barriers. And you should describe how technology will be incorporated to advance programs and services, provide training and/or technical assistance, and disseminate information and products. Next slide, please. You should describe the role and makeup of potential individuals or entities intended to be involved in completing specific tasks. This includes identifying the level of effort each person is anticipated to provide in completing programmatic activities, and describing how they will engage in the project. If the project is in the early stages of development, you should also describe any strategies that you will use to establish feasibility and address the management of any high-risk aspects of the proposed work. Next slide, please. If applicable, you should describe and justify involvement of human subjects in the proposed work by describing or providing the information that is noted. You should not include the package prepared for your IRB review. And be sure to see the NOFO for full details on what should be addressed with respect to IRB approval. Next slide, please. For the outcomes component of the proposed project, you should, next slide, please, keep the focus of this section on describing what outcomes will be produced by the project. In many cases, it's very appropriate for a project to have only one outcome that it is trying to achieve through the intervention reflected in the project's design. You should use the evaluation section noted below, as we'll discuss in a few minutes, to describe how you will assess the project outcomes. In addition to any discussion in the project description, describe how you will envision the project, will benefit the field at large. Next slide, please. You should specify the tangible or measurable outcomes that will result from your project. And in addition to any discussion in the dissemination section, describe how you will report the outcomes of the project. Next slide. For the evaluation component, you should, next slide, please. Describe the quantitative and/or qualitative tools and techniques that you will employ to assess and evaluate the ease with which the materials can be directly used by the relevant stakeholders, their effectiveness in facilitating improved practices, and their impact on research integrity and/or compliance. You should describe the quantitative and/or qualitative tools and techniques that you will use to employ to assess and evaluate outcomes, and how you will identify and document lessons learned. You should describe how you will collect and report evaluation data, describing how you will ensure the validity and reliability of the data. Next slide, please. For the dissemination component, you should, next slide, please, describe a comprehensive timeframe dissemination plan to communicate key findings to stakeholders, the public, and/or others who might be interested in the results of the proposed project. You should also describe the method you will use to disseminate the project's results and findings in a timely manner and in easily understandable formats for the PHS-funded research community, the public, and/or others who might be interested in using the results of the project to inform practice, service delivery, program development, and/or policymaking. Next slide, please. In the project management section, you should identify the principal investigator, collaborators, and other researchers, including subrecipients, consultants, or contractors proposed for the project. Include a clear delineation of the roles and responsibilities of each, their relevant expertise, and how they will contribute to achieving the project goals and outcomes. You should identify the individual who will serve as the principal investigator or project director, and that individual's qualifications. We expect that throughout the award period, the principal investigator or project director will be involved in and have substantial knowledge about all aspects of the project. Next slide, please. You should specify who would have day-to-day responsibility for key tasks, such as leadership of the project, monitoring the project's ongoing progress, preparation of reports, and communications with collaborators and HHS-OASH. Describe the approach that you will use to monitor and track progress on the project's tasks and objectives. Next slide, please. And finally, for the environment and organizational capability component, you should, next slide, please, provide a contingency plan for modification of in-person activities in the event of a resurgence of COVID-19 or precautions under other public health emergency conditions. Describe your organization's capability to successfully implement the proposed project, and describe the research or scientific environment in which the work will be done and how it will contribute to the probability of success. This should include a description of the institutional support, equipment, and other physical resources available to the investigators. Next slide, please. You should describe how your organization is structured, the nature and scope of its work, and the capabilities it possesses, as well as the organizational investment in the success of the investigator and proposed project. Next slide, please. You should describe the activities the organization undertakes to foster a research environment that promotes the responsible conduct of research, research training, and activities related to that research or research training, discourages research misconduct, and deals promptly with allegations or evidence of possible research misconduct, and describe the way in which the proposed project will contribute to and enhance the recipient's or institution's activities related to research integrity and or compliance with 42 CFR Part 93. Next slide, please. You should describe the capabilities of the applicant organization that are not included elsewhere in the program narrative. You should also include information about any contractual and or supportive staff or organizations that will have a secondary role in implementing the project and achieving project goals. You should describe collaborations in the application and accompanying letters of commitment. As a reminder, you can refer to the NOFO for the full details about all of the components that I just went over. Next slide, please. And finally, I'd like to point out that applicants should note the appendices are submitted as an attachment. All items described in this section will count toward the total page limit of your application, and you must submit them as a single electronic file uploaded to the attachment section of your grants.gov application. Now I'll turn it over to Dwayne Barlow from the OASH Office of Grants and Acquisitions Management, who will talk about the competitive application requirements and process. Next slide, and I'll turn it over to you, Dwayne.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dwayne, and as stated before, I am going to go over the application component of the notice of funding opportunity. Next slide, please. So, submission dates and times. Your application will be due by 6 p.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday, May 10th, 2023. Your submission time will be determined by the date and time stamp provided by grants.gov when you complete your submission. It's strongly encouraged for you to submit your application a minimum of 3 to 5 days prior to the application closing date. Keep in mind that grants.gov may take up to 48 hours to notify you of a successful submission. If you fail to submit your application by the due date and time, we will not review it and it will receive no further consideration. Next slide, please. Okay. Eligible applicants for this application: universities, hospitals, laboratories, other public or private institutions, and individuals are eligible to apply for an award under this announcement. Faith-based organizations and American Indian, Alaskan Native, Native American organizations that are public and or private entities are eligible to apply. Community-based organizations are eligible to apply. Foreign institutions, non-domestic U.S. entities, and foreign components of U.S. organizations are eligible to apply. To receive an award, the proposed activity must provide a domestic benefit, such as promoting research integrity among PHS-funded institutions, both within the U.S. and abroad. Next slide, please. Cost sharing or matching. So you're not required to provide cost sharing or matching in your proposed budget. If you voluntarily include cost sharing in your application, you must include it in your budget narrative. You must include in your budget narrative a non-federal sources justification as described in Section D of the NOFO, or your application will be disqualified. Voluntary cost sharing is not expected for research applications. During the merit review of an application, cost sharing will only be considered in the overall review of the adequacy of the total proposed budget, federal and non-federal share, to support the project proposed. Applications including cost sharing or matching, whether required or voluntary, that result in an award will include cost sharing or matching commitment on the notice of award at the level proposed in the application. Any change in the responsibility to provide cost sharing or matching at that level will require prior approval from the grants management officer. Next slide, please. Responsiveness criteria. So we will review your application to determine whether or not it meets the responsiveness criteria in Section C3. If your application does not meet the responsiveness criteria, we will disqualify it from the competition. We will not review it beyond the initial screening. The responsiveness criteria are as follows. So there are no other application responsiveness criteria. Next slide, please. The notice of funding opportunity announcement. So the notice of funding opportunity provides information and guidance related to the applications. So please read the entire funding announcement. Follow the NOFO carefully. And keep in mind that the information provided in the NOFO takes precedence over any conflicting information in other documents, including this presentation. Next slide, please. Request address to request application package. So you can obtain an application package electronically by accessing grants.gov at www.grants.gov. You can find the application package by searching the assistance listing. It's formerly called a CFDA. That number is found on page 1 of the NOFO. The assistance listing number is 93.085. Please be sure to subscribe to the announcement in grants.gov so you receive notification of any updates to the NOFO or supporting documents. Next slide, please. Application submission. So OASH requires that all applications be submitted electronically via grants.gov unless an exemption has been granted by the grants management officer. If you submit an application via any other electronic communication, it will not be accepted for review. Keep in mind that grants.gov is a website portal. All funding opportunities and grant application packages are made available again on www.grants.gov. An application will not be considered valid until all application components are entered in grants.gov and received by HHS, Office of Grants and Acquisitions Management, according to the deadlines specified in the submission dates and times section of the NOFO. You can contact grants.gov with any questions or concerns regarding the application process. And if you want to call in, you can use this number below, 1-800-518-4726. Next slide, please. So Applications have to be submitted as 3 files. File 1 should contain the entire project narrative. File 2 should contain the entire budget narrative, including supporting documentation described in the budget narrative content section of the NOFO. And file 3, you should have all documents in the appendices section. Please note that required standard forms do not apply towards your page count limitation in the submission requirements as stated in the disqualification criteria. Next slide, please. Any files uploaded or attached to the grants.gov application must be of the following file formats. So you can use Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, Adobe PDF, or the following image formats. You can use JPEG, GIF, TIFF, or BMP only. Microsoft Excel files will not be accepted. HHS.gov strongly recommends that electronic applications be uploaded as Adobe PDF. So if you convert to PDF prior to submission, you can prevent any unintentional formatting that might occur with the submission of an editable document. You should check the page count of the PDF and/or print your file to ensure that the document does not exceed the page limits. Next slide, please. Remember to please be complete and do not leave blanks on forms unless the information is clearly not applicable. The individuals submitting the application forms should have the legal authority to act on behalf of the organization. Next slide, please. To ensure successful submission of your application, please carefully follow the step-by-step instructions provided at the blue URL that you see below. These instructions are kept up to date and also provide links to frequently asked questions and other troubleshooting information. Next slide, please. Okay, so let's talk about your application elements. In terms of forms, you're going to be using an application for federal assistance, or the SF-424, the budget information for non-construction programs form, or SF-424A, the disclosure of lobbying activities form, or SFLLL, and you have the project abstract summary. So with regard to files, you have a project narrative file. Submit all project narrative content as a single acceptable file. For the budget narrative, submit all budget narrative content as a single acceptable file. Appendices, submit all appendix content as a single acceptable file in the attachment section of your grants.gov application. Next slide, please. Be sure to follow project narrative format instructions in the NOFO. Your application will be disqualified if it doesn't conform to the format requirements. You must double space the project narrative pages. You must use 12-point font. You should use an easily readable typeface such as Times New Roman or Arial. You may use single space tables or use alternate fonts, but you must ensure that the tables are easy to read. For appendices and budget narrative, you should use the same formatting specified for the project narrative. Appendix documents such as resumes may use alternate formats common to such documents. Next slide, please. The unique entity identifier. So you're required to provide a unique entity identifier number when applying for federal awards through grants.gov. You'll find instructions on the grants.gov website as a part of the organizational registration process, and you can use that blue URL that you see there. Please note that effective April 4, 2022, grants.gov transitioned to the 12-digit UEI obtained as a part of the SAM registration process. And for more information about that, you can take a look at that blue URL that you see there. Next slide, please. Okay, the System for Award Management, or SAM. So if you're registering a new entity in SAM.gov, you need to create a login.gov account if you don't already have one. If you are renewing your registration, your old SAM.gov username and password will not work anymore. You'll need to create a login.gov account if you don't already have one. So the minimum time frame to complete an initial SAM registration is 30 minutes online. The time frame for applicant registrations to become active is up to 10 days and may take longer depending upon volume. SAM registration must be renewed each year, And the average time frame for updates to insam.gov to appear in grants.gov is about 72 hours. Next slide, please. We strongly recommend that applicants check for an active registration in SAM well before the application deadline. If you're successful and you receive an award, you must maintain an active SAM registration with current information at all times during an active award. If you have not complied with the SAM registration requirements, HHS may determine that you're not qualified to receive an award and may use that determination as a basis for making an award to another applicant. Should you successfully compete and receive an award, all first-tier subaward recipients must have a UEI number at the time that you, the recipient, make a subaward to them. Next slide, please. Funding restrictions. So if you are successful and you receive an award, by accepting that award, you agree that the award and any activities thereunder are subject to all provisions of 45 CFR Part 75, currently in effect, or implemented during the period of award, other department regulations and policies in effect at the time of the award, and any applicable statutory provisions. With regard to your costs, they must be allowable, allocable, reasonable, and necessary direct expenses or indirect costs in accordance with regulations and current policy. Indirect costs may be included per 45 CFR 75.414. Applicants should indicate which method or rate will be used for this application. Pre-award costs are not allowed. The current salary limitation is $212,100 effective January 2023. Next slide, please. Budget narrative and forms. So budget narrative and forms must be consistent with the requirements as stated in the NOFO. Budgeted costs must reflect proposed activities. Budget line item descriptions and justification requirements are explained in the NOFO. We have suggested table formats in the NOFO. And we have information about your plan for oversight of federal award funds. Keep in mind that forms, narrative, and detailed justifications, don't count towards your page limit. Next slide, please. So when we think about application disqualification, if your application does not meet the following requirements, it will be disqualified and receive no further consideration. So you have to make sure that your application is submitted electronically via grants.gov by the due date and time, unless an exemption was granted 2 business days prior to the deadline. If you successfully submit multiple applications for the same project, we're only going to review the last application received by the deadline. HHS.gov, we have to deem your application eligible. Your project narrative must be double-spaced on the equivalent of 8.5 by 11 page size, with 1-inch margins on all sides and font size not less than 12 points. Your project narrative must not exceed 30 pages, and the total application, including project narrative, must not exceed 75 pages. Next slide, please. If your application does not meet the following requirements, it will be disqualified and receive no further consideration. So your application must be in the English language and it must be in terms of US dollars. Your federal funds request, including indirect costs, should not exceed the maximum indicated in the award ceiling in the NOFO. Your federal funds request, including indirect costs, must not be below the minimum indicated in the award floor in the NOFO. If you have included voluntary cost sharing or matching, you must include in your budget narrative a non-federal sources justification, and you have to make sure that your application meets the application responsiveness criteria in section E3. Next slide, please. And again, there are no additional responsiveness criteria for this opportunity. Next slide, please. So, supporting documentation and disqualification. Applications that lack the required supporting documentation or submit additional appendix files will not be disqualified from competitive review. However, this may impact your application's rating under the evaluation criteria. So please be sure to follow submission instructions carefully. Next slide, please. So with regard to the application review criteria, each of these areas are going to be equally weighted, and they are project description, outcomes evaluation and dissemination, project management and environment, and organizational capability. Next slide, please. Application merit review. So eligible applications will be evaluated, commented on, and rated by a panel of independent reviewers with technical expertise in the applicable fields according to the criteria listed in the NOFA. The merit review panel process is formal and confidential. Federal staff are available for questions and to ensure the process is consistent and fair, but don't participate in discussion and scoring. So at that point, applications are then reviewed by GAM staff for administrative and business compliance, and then by ORI program office staff for programmatic compliance. Next slide, please. Funding decisions. So the director of the Office of Research Integrity will make final award selections to be recommended to the grants management officer for risk analysis. Upon completion of risk analysis and concurrence of the grants management officer, HHS will then issue notices of award. Keep in mind that no award decision is final until a notice of award is issued. All award decisions, including level of funding, if an award is made, are final and you may not appeal. Next slide, please. With regard to the funding process, it's important to note that we're not obligated to make any federal award as a result of this announcement. Keep in mind that only the grants officer can bind the federal government to the expenditure of funds. If you receive communications to negotiate an award or request additional or clarifying information, this does not mean you will receive an award. It only means that your application is still under consideration. Again, all award decisions, including level of funding, if an award is made, are final and you may not appeal. Next slide, please. Funding process and our review of risk posed by the applicant. So HHS will evaluate each application in the fundable range for risk posed by the applicant before issuing an award in accordance with 45 CFR 75205. OASH will use a risk-based approach and may consider any items such as the following as stated in the NOFA. So when looking at an application, we'll take a look at the applicant's financial stability, the quality of management systems, and the ability to meet the management standards as prescribed in 45 CFR Part 75. We'll take a look at your history of performance. We'll take a look at reports and findings from audits performed. And we'll also take a look at the applicant's ability to effectively implement statutory, regulatory, or other requirements imposed on non-federal entities. Next slide, please. Your plan for oversight of federal award funds. Some tips and information. If your internal controls are available online, you may provide a link as a part of your plan in the budget narrative. We also wanted to note that we've included supplementary information in section I-1, which contains questions applicants may find useful in considering their recipient plans for oversight of federal funds. Next slide, please. Risk review resulting in non-funded determinations. So if we determine your organization does not meet either or both of the minimum qualification standards as described in 45 CFR 75.205A2, and we do not make an award to you as a result, we must report that determination to FAPIS if certain conditions apply. Keep in mind that the information in FAPIS is available for other organizations to review when considering you for award. Next slide, please. So now we get to the notice of award. So the notice of award document notifies successful applicants of their selection, the award amount, and project and budget periods. It will include any conditions on the award, in other words, requirements that must be met as a condition of receiving grant funds. And it will include standard terms, reporting requirements, and contact information for OASH GAM and the program office. Next slide, please. Points of contact during the funding process. So GAM is the official contact for awardees throughout the award life cycle. All official communication related to the award is between GAM and the successful applicant. Unsuccessful applicants will be notified by the program office via letter. Next slide, please. Okay, so at this point, we want to provide a summary and some tips. So for the project narrative description, please be clear, complete, and concise in the project description. Follow and address exactly what is requested in the NOFO. Don't make the reviewer search for the required information. Generally, the easier the application is to review, the better the rating. Keep in mind that reviewers are not allowed to do external research or follow embedded links, things like that. Clearly identify the sections of the application and indicate which component is being addressed. Project narrative must include all required information within the page limit. Do not use appendices to expand the page limit. Next slide, please. So, with regard to the project narrative description, make sure that the goals and objectives of your project are SMART. That is specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timeframe. Activities presented in the work plan should relate directly to the proposed goals and objectives of your project. The program work plan, evaluation plan, and budget should provide a complete picture of how the applicant will address the needs as well as address the purpose and expectations in the NOFO. Next slide, please. With regard to staffing should be appropriate and reasonable for the goals, objectives, and activities of the proposed project. Please be complete in describing what staff will do, the expertise required, and the percent time they will be assigned to the project. Next slide, please. Okay, with regard to budget, your budget should include adequate funds to carry out the proposed work plan, evaluation plan, and administrative responsibilities of the project. Your budget should be reasonable and relate directly to the goals and objectives of your project. Do not request more funds than are available, as listed in the NOFO. This amount is inclusive of indirect costs. The operating budget should be complete and include federal and non-federal funds, projected program income from fees and third-party payers, and other contributing funds. Next slide, please. So here's some overall summary. Here's an overall summary and some tips for you. On your application documents, please include full names, first, middle, and last for authorized officials, principal investigators, project directors, and all essential personnel. Keep in mind that electronic submission is required. Please don't wait until the last minute to begin SAM registration or update your registration. And do not wait until the last minute to begin electronic submission. Problems could arise. I have one more tidbit of advice for you as you work on your application. When you are working on the SF-424 portion of your document or your documents, make sure that your principal investigator or project director's name and information is in section 8F of the SF-424, and make sure that your authorized official's name and information is placed in section 21 of the SF-424. Next slide, please. So if you have questions about this particular NOFO, you can reach out with regard to program questions to William Campbell. His email is there, as well as his telephone number. If you have any administrative or financial questions, you can reach out to me. My email address and telephone number is there as well. With regard to electronic submission requirements and grants.gov applicant support, you can use a couple of resources here. You have, of course, the website, which is www.grants.gov. You can email their support team at support@grants.gov. And if you want to get on the phone and speak to folks, you can use the number 1-800-518-4726. One thing we want to mention here is you shouldn't contact the OASH program or grants office staff for grants.gov issues, because we don't manage that particular site. And so we would highly suggest that you reach out to grants.gov and their support staff for those sorts of issues. Next slide, please. Thank you very much for your time. And at this time, I want to turn it back over to Karen. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Dwayne. And we have time for questions. So If anyone has a question, please feel free to put it in the chat. If you're comfortable with that, either address it to everyone, but make sure that you address it to all hosts and panelists at the very least, so that we can appropriately field that question. Unless anyone has any additional questions, I'd like to thank everybody for attending today. You didn't miss anything. I see there's a question in the chat about volume. We were just waiting for questions to come in, so there was nothing being said for a little while. Thank you everyone for attending today, and we will be posting a recording of this session or at least how to access that recording at grants.gov. And thank you for attending. Have a great day.